everybody, welcome back to Star Trek Kvasir. We are here to entertain you on this Friday evening with some crazy Star Trek shenanigans. Thank you all very much for joining us. I know we started a little bit late, but we are going to jump into things. In our last episode, the crew deftly navigated their way through negotiations with the Borg, which doesn't happen often. But Commander Galen Jax, he pulled it out. He kept things calm, he negotiated well, and now there's only one small fire left. Captain, you return to duty with your pad in hand, and reports begin coming in. Who would like to offer the first report to the captain?
I will. The ship has been exposed to future Borg technology that seems to have left a lingering presence. The chief engineer appears to be infected with some form of Borg presence, and we are contemplating a solution of keeping her in a pattern buffer until we can block signals. Lieutenant Sulak has disappeared, and I am unaware of where he went. And Dr. K4 is working on some solutions involving Commander Devon. Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi has done an admirable job analyzing the technology we spotted from the future Borg, and they polluted the timeline a lot.
So much timeline pollution.
Ha ha, very funny. Send.
So medical reports and scans of Commander Davin start coming in, and the captain, as a physician herself, would recognize that this was not a joke. It appears that there has been Borg contamination.
She responds again to Commander Galen. Why didn't you tell me about this? Forwards info from the doctor.
The security report that arrives to the captain includes internal sensor scans showing nanites just everywhere, all in the Jeffries tubes, just everywhere.
The report that comes in from the science division from Amathi basically is that the Sheev nanite cycles through the species constantly, as it basically has an imprint of all species DNA that are basically all Federation species, providing an initial sheath of protection rather than just adapting in response to damage. It repairs everyone to what they think the host species' perfect form is, rather than making them into a singularly new species as the Borg normally does. Introducing, since it's an evolved nanoprobe based on Borg technology, introducing them to the Borg would revert them back to their original state, although they would become this new version of Borg. Essentially, they would. It's a new way of essentially adaptation and assimilation for this new species of Borg. The ability to communicate with the hive is the same as Borg. It is the Borg, as it's obviously meant to be able to traverse vast distances of subspace, even more so than what the Borg are capable of doing. and also can transcend space-time, because Davin's nanites and the nanites that are on the ship are currently transmitting to the hive that is in the future. And Amafi would basically be able to tell her, or in the report basically says, I can turn them, I can turn the nanites onto the equivalent of airplane mode. That wouldn't be what exactly he says in the report, but he says basically like, they'll still be there, they'll still be active, but they will no longer be transmitting. But they will, but I cannot like sever them completely forever. So we'll have to find a way to permanently remove them.
The chief engineer report is solely something about they have confined me to quarters. They believe I'm contaminated. I feel sleepy, so I'm going to actually drink some water and lay down to rest. Which the doc would understand is highly unusual for Devin to even say. She's never sleepy.
010
Hardly ever drinks.
010.
I like mine. Mine was the shortest.
Well, the captain's going to respond to Lieutenant Kirk first, and simply just a message that says, I think you know what your priority should be as far as keeping the nanites away from it.
The response that comes back is, it has already been contained. I am working on protecting the ship now.
As long as you know. And she's just like, continue your work.
Aye, Captain. Speaking of work, oh, great wise storyteller. How long will it take until Amafi is ready to transmit his equations?
About an hour.
Okay. So we are going to, Sulak is going to initiate the quarantine program on the ship.
Can I put her in the pattern buffer yet?
Yes.
I think when we left off of my section, she was trying to reach out to her brother, and we were frozen in mid-scene there. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Pattern buffer.
So, by reaching out to your brother, so your eyes are open. You are here in the present. You're in your quarters. You know, quarantined away, just like everybody had you. You had heard all the voices coming in previously, and you still do now. Just thousands of voices, but it's not a cacophony that's like disturbing. It's almost comforting, like the din of a crowd, like a busy restaurant. And when you purposely focus on one person, you know, like when you have a daydream, you see your brother. It's the same person who was on the view screen, which obviously Commander Devin didn't see, but he's a younger gentleman, very similar in appearance to you with the red hair, but his eyes are glowing teal. And he looks at you and says, Roy, it's been a long, long time.
it has. I thought you were dead.
I suppose in a manner of speaking, I am deceased.
Oh?
Well, I mean, look at us. We're something far different and better now.
am still kind of grasping what the heck is going on, to be perfectly honest. Perhaps you can enlighten me?
Well, the sad reality of it is that when our colony was attacked, Dad did everything he could to protect us. But when we were on the cube, Mom just kept getting worse and worse. And he had to find a way to save her. So he took
What do you
Borg
mean?
nanites and modified
What
them.
did he do?
He needed someone healthy, someone viable to grow the nanites. And so I volunteered. It is
Suppose I would have done the same in
unfortunate
your
that
position.
I figured that you would. I thought to myself, what would Roy do if she was here? Unfortunately, Mom didn't make it. But that's why we have named ourselves after her.
Oh.
That's why we are the
Okay.
Sheev.
Oh! They've kept a lot of stuff from me because, well, being with these things is a bit of an alarming thing for the rest of the crew, so I've been quarantined and kept privy from certain information. Although I did notice you were quite a bit older than I remember. It hasn't been that long.
It's a funny thing, time travel. People often misunderstand what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And in our situation, rightfully so. I mean, the Borg did try to destroy Earth after all. But the Sheev are better. We're above all that. We simply want to make people perfect.
Interesting.
I mean, surely you've noticed by now that your anatomy has returned to a younger state. I mean,
I noticed that I now crave water and I can sleep. Those are pluses. You know me, I never slept a wink. Did he freeze or am I just delusional?
you back? There it goes.
There we go. Yeah. You're good now. You're good now.
Sorry
me hard-
about that, Cat. Little internet hiccup. Surely you've noticed your wrinkles are gone and the bags under your eyes disappeared.
I mean, I didn't care so much about those, but the being able to like sleep and the drinking of the water, those are new and interesting and feels oddly good. Beginning to think they were right about some of that stuff earlier, but those are only the few of the upsides I've noticed so far. I'm not sure what else
Well,
is in store.
as I said, it's not a bad thing. The nanites that we have in our bodies, they protect us, they take care of us. They keep us healthy.
So,
It's
where do we go from here on this one?
unfortunately, many of your crewmates are very concerned about dilution of the timeline. And no sooner does he say that you're suddenly transported away into the pattern buffer.
Amazing. You got your guys' wish.
Yes.
If you could hear
Mabinga.
into the pattern buffer, there would be screaming.
So let me. Oh, goody. While you are in the pattern buffer, go ahead and roll a daring and engineering check.
I love
And-
to. Love
While
to.
Commander Davin is doing that, what is everyone else up to?
I am checking over Amathi's calculations on how to affect even a temporary sever and becoming worried.
Increasingly worried?
Increasingly.
Galen is on the command deck, sitting at the con, kind of worried and waiting for everybody to get him information so he can do something.
Ooh, make a report. Hey, grown-up reporty people. Officers above me. The check has been moved into the pattern buffer. I also believe that we should converse.
Sulak would love to have a conversation. Unfortunately, he is elbow deep in spaceship guts trying to get his fun new toy to properly interface, and he's also waiting on the isolation of the quantum particle that they're using to communicate across time so that he can adjust for that.
Okay, give me a control and science.
From me or from him?
From him in this particular instance.
Ah.
Amathi, what are you doing in all of this?
All my calculations are complete. I just need to finalize them and get them sent off to the appropriate people to get the to get everything underway. Correct?
Yep, that
Okay.
is correct.
The only other thing that Amafi is currently doing right now is his next solution is, or the next thing he's working on is the complete removal of the nanites from the ship and eventually Commander Davin itself. First thing that he's going to be doing is that he's going to be getting into the transport. Basically, he's going to get into the transport system, and he is going to, using Davin's previous pattern that is on file, he is going to adjust for so that when she's pulled out of the buffer, all the nanites are going to get stripped out of her.
Okay.
And that is currently what he is going to be working on. Based on research, he will let's see here. He already figures that our chief medical officer already knows about the neural suppressant, but basically he will recommend that if he cannot get basically his recommendation will be is that if the airplane mode doesn't work, if he can't get the quantum particle isolated correctly, and that if he cannot get the nanite stripped out of Davin once she leaves the transport buffer, he is recommending that there's somebody in security waiting for her wherever it is that we rematerialize with her, with neural suppressants to give to her so that she is cut off from this new collective, as that is the only surefire way that we know to how to do it. It's a temporary stopgap solution. It will dull her, but it is the only way that Amathi knows by the records on how to do it.
Okay. So for coming up with your plan and everything, go ahead and roll control and science. And then everybody is getting these reports and thoughts from Amathi. Captain, what are you doing in all of this?
She's gonna probably make her way to the bridge and probably check in with different places like the jail with the changeling, and knowing that my chief engineer is in a pattern buffer right now, she would check in with her next in command in engineering and make sure that they are continuing whatever she was doing.
Okay. So first pit
No
stop.
buffer time.
First pit stop, you head into the brig and you see the changeling is laying down on the bed, just like tossing a ball into the air and catching it. And when you walk in, he kind of absorbs the ball into his hand and stands up. Captain, wonderful to see you again.
Is it? Good.
Indeed. How are things?
You haven't seen anything hurt or weird? Nothing's come in here?
Beyond these 3 walls and a force field, I don't get to see very much of anything.
You have any experience with the Borg?
I have some experience with them, yes.
Ever have some come from the future?
Now that is a new one, and my interest is piqued. From the future.
Yeah.
Is that not a tiny bit troubling that they still exist in the future?
I feel like it would be hard to eradicate something like that forever.
But not without worth trying, yes?
Is that something your people have a lot of success doing?
Let's just say I might know a thing or two. I mean, we fluid species are a little resilient to the Borg nanoprobes, as well as a species that I am familiar with here in the Gamma Quadrant.
How cryptic.
My apologies. It was not meant to be cryptic. Species 8472 are known to be quite violent towards the Borg and are unable to be assimilated. Perhaps with some research, we might be able to manufacture something using their cells.
An interesting idea. Well, you have said before that you're willing to be helpful. So if we feel we've run out of options with no success, I just may let you help us.
I would be most privileged. I mean, if there is a threat to the ship, I'd rather not be stuck in a cardboard box when it explodes.
I'm sure it won't explode. I'm sure something far worse will happen before that.
Quite right, Captain, I'm sure.
And she would nod to whoever's on duty and head on out and go
Captain,
to... Yes.
If I may, before you leave, is there a chance, possibly, that, I mean, if you could, if it's not too much trouble.
Spit it out.
Uh, would it be possible to speak with the doctor again?
That would be up to her, but I can make your request known. She will be a little busy currently, so you may be waiting a bit.
Of course, of course. Thank you, Captain.
She's gonna be like squinty eye as she just leaves.
Much needed. All right, you make your way very briskly to the bridge. The turbo lift door opens, and Captain on the bridge, Commander Jax. Finally, someone else has arrived.
Yeah, Jax happily steps out of the chair. Hello, Captain. Eventful day.
Yes, I have read such a compelling novel this morning.
Everybody's working on their individual projects. I don't know where Lieutenant Sulak went, but Amafi's been banging away at analyzing the nanites to look for a weakness. I told them to put Commander Davin in the pattern buffer until we can figure out how to block the signal. It's the only way to really sort of completely remove it as an option. Dr. K4 is looking into other options. That's where we stand.
Yeah, Amafi is full on like both paws on the console, like rapidly typing away. Not Android speed, but going pretty fast. And he's using his tail as well. So he's got 3 limbs going on the
Oh no.
What I should have done was create an image that I could have put up that just said buffering, since I knew this was going to happen at the front of the thing. Just, buffering, because it's in the buffer. Because,
Yes, yeah, we get it.
I like to think of Mothy's console is like the only one like to accommodate his paws. It's got those little buttons that people use for like their pets to push and speak. It's like, yes, no, food. And so he's over there just like tapping away.
I mean, everything on his console, I'm sure, is in Caishanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no one else can read it. Meow, 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 meow.
Like, there are 17 dialects of hiss.
There is.
It's all about the inflection.
It also depends on what position your tail is. If it's up, if it's down, is it brushed out?
Yeah, no, if their body goes flat against you, you're to submit.
His ears go back.
And now
well,
I want to see Amathi lose his fucking shit on somebody.
We'll get there one day. It'll happen.
You do notice that there's like a little bit of like cat fur still remains in your captain's chair.
Oh yeah, they didn't tell the captain that they put him in command, did they?
Nope.
She would nod to Commander Jackson, let him return to his normal station. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy it? You want to do it again? You would like to make a regular thing? Maybe do some night rotations?
Captain, I am glad to let you be in charge of this ship as often and as much as possible.
I'd be glad to be in charge of this ship too, but you know what? We just play the hand we're dealt.
Captain, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little weird having a diplomatic conversation with the Borg the first time I'm in the chair. The last time I was in the chair, I was being shot at by them.
Life is crazy.
Yeah.
I assume the negotiations are or did go well, since you are not currently trying to stick tubes in my neck.
Yeah, they took their crewmen and left. Unfortunately, they left us with a gift. Um, Borg are always going to try and assimilate everything that they come across, even in the future, apparently. They may color it in more friendly terms, but they're still doing the same thing.
Oh, I'm the gift that keeps on giving. I love it.
Captain, Commander, would now be a good time to speak.
Did she just come on the bridge, or are we chirp? Did it chirp? Are we chirping? We're
Chirp,
chirping.
chirp!
Chorp.
Chorp.
Chirp.
I don't like the upgrades. Dr. K Fork, do you have good news?
Yes and no.
I'll take the no first.
Looking at what can be seen from Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi's notes, it is unlikely that a medical intervention will do much to assist Commander Davin.
Right. What's the yes?
There may be a non-medical means of assisting Commander Davin.
Elaborate.
May I join you both on the bridge, please? This
Better yet,
conversation should be as private as is possible.
better yet, let's make it my ready room. And we'll do all the privacy as possible. Amathi and you will join me in my ready room, and Commander Jax, you will take back command of the bridge while we are speaking.
Yes, Captain.
As my security officer is currently elsewhere.
Yeah, I would like to know where. Computer, where is Lieutenant Kirk's Sulak currently?
I want to say Lieutenant Kirk or Lieutenant Sulak is not aboard the ship, but we all know that's not true. Lieutenant Sulak is on deck 5.
Surprise twist, that's just where his comm badge is.
You get
I mean,
out of here.
that's
Quit
where
reading
one
my
of his
notes.
comm badges is. He's probably got 2.
He's just throwing them down the hallway. Is
There's
like
a
program.
phantom hologram in his quarters that paces.
Mhm.
It's just there.
He's security. He's probably programming them as he's walking, and just like he's got a pocket full of these things.
He's got a second set of quarters between the walls, like he's the Betazoid from Voyager.
Well, you see, if you just
You
move
lock
this
it to the
L-Pars out
wall?
of the way, there's a secret passage. That is a good point, though. We are going to cut over to Lieutenant Sulak. What are you doing currently?
So I have finished installing the Quiet Night. Everything is hooked up. I am just waiting for Amathi to transmit what he needs to my pad. But I am not wearing my comm badge. Not the comm badge that everyone else would be familiar with. I am
Right.
currently communicating with the other individuals on the ship that are bringing me little bits and pieces of what I need to modify the quiet night the way we need to.
All right. Now, you had been working very diligently on that last episode. So we're going to say that at this point, you have completed getting it all situated, and Amathi is able to send you the information you need. So now it's all up to you to decide what you want to do.
Yeah, either I rolled a total of 6 successes on either I rolled a total of 4 successes on that roll or 8 successes. Depending on the way I look at it.
And with the 2 ones that I rolled for my science and daring command, I guess, either or, I would be. Should I roll to get all of that punched in?
No.
Okay.
You with your 2 ones that counts as 4 successes. So
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and calibrate the device so that it produces the same effect that Amathi had been talking about without any further modification to the deflector dish, because this object is creating all of that and just using the deflector dish to ensconce the ship in the quantum cage, as it were.
the quantum cage, I like it.
We basically
Right.
created a quantum Faraday cage.
All right. So you are activating the deflector dish to do so. It works exactly as intended, completely severs the nanites, which, in a just very odd, crazy twist, the moment they are severed,
Oh no.
they begin to degrade very rapidly. And they start, like, Amathi is kind of tracking them throughout the ship. You see large portions of them are essentially dying off of old age. They're falling out of tubes, they're like falling onto hallway, like floors and things.
When you say old age, you mean like they're aging rapidly?
Yes.
Would this imply that their connection was also maintaining their like time differentiation once they were trapped in this time? Okay. Well, I'm saying, like, would she get that immediately? Would she be able to tell, do I need to roll?
No, I mean, you just put it all together right there. So now, Commander Davin, when you're in the pattern buffer, you're essentially split up into each individual atom. However, the way the sheave work is each individual atom has a nanite attached to it. So even though you are not an actual body or anything like that, with the nanites aging and rapidly deteriorating, as are your atoms.
Oh, good. This would normally be painful, but I can't feel pain in this buffer right now.
Would this
Exactly.
be something that would be, say, immediately noticeable to an individual who would be monitoring
Yes,
her
it is
condition?
immediately transmitted to the doctor as you walk into the ready room to meet with all the other senior officers.
Shorp, shipwide, whatever you did, turn it off.
All right,
face.
all right. So, yeah, Sulak is going to deactivate the Quiet Knight and race back to his quarters, replace his comm badge, replace his uniform, and sprint to the captain's ready room because usually getting a ship wide from the CMO is not a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that being deactivated, Amathi, you notice that the remaining nanites are aged but not decrepit, so they didn't fully die off. Um, everybody in the ready room is able to begin their meeting now.
What percent has not died off to the
Yeah, that
original
would be
There,
what I
quantity?
there are exactly 15,000 nanites left.
How many were there?
I
Millions.
think we said in the realm of millions.
Okie dokie. So I have the doctor and Amathi and suddenly Sulak in my ready room.
Unless you all have you already begun the meeting at this point, or
Well, she said as she
Getting
came
there.
in, she got the info and then ship wide.
okay, so it's going to
Maybe
take
give
them
it
a
5
minute to
minutes
get
before
there.
Sulak gets
How
there.
many
Yeah,
of those
yeah,
15,000
you've got a few
are,
minutes.
how many of those 15,000 are inside Davin?
All of them.
Okay.
All up to okay. So Davin is full of old man nanites.
Gross.
I'm no longer Newborg. I'm geriatric Borg.
Hey, but you don't got diabetes.
That's true.
So
Old man eye.
the meeting has begun. You can go ahead and discuss what you need to. I'm going to give you a few minutes until Sulak shows up.
So Mafi is going to look really confused at the chief medical officer because he's like, he was like getting excited because his plan was working, and then all of a sudden she's just like, shut it down, and then he's like looking at it, he just kind of looks really confused at the chief medical officer, like, what the fuck?
She is
Not
going
saying anything,
to,
just confused look.
she is going to do wacko shite with her Borg arm and pull up the medical shit and just hologram it like, this is what happened. The degradation of the nanites matches up with the degradation of the Chang's nanites. And with the Chang herself at an atomic structure level. So whatever we did was effective, but it will kill her.
All right.
Mafi gets a very confused look on his face for a moment. He kind of thinks and he says, okay, well, looking to the captain, we have her pattern on board, the unaltered pattern. We need to get those nanites out of her. I mean, if they have that kind of effect on her, if something happened, even if we were even inclined to let her keep those nanites, if something happens where we run into a species out here in the Gamma Quadrant, or heck, I basically they need to come out of her no matter what.
And how do you recommend we do that? Since you are clearly the expert on Borg nanoprobes.
He kind of looks over at you and he says, Chief Medical Officer, but just to say this, and please don't take this the wrong way, but needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one at this point in time.
Oh no,
No, Captain, I'm sorry, but this is
No,
I'm sorry.
you will not be speaking out of turn in my ready room, junior grade.
Mafi's tail starts to
If we can
Dang.
render them inert in the same way that my own have been rendered inert, or in a similar fashion, we could both effectively sever the commander and not kill her.
Agreed.
This,
I was going to suggest perhaps taking what you have just successfully done and maybe
There
rework
is-
it as a dampening field for now.
There is a manner in which that I may be able to effect a severance.
Well, I know that would take time.
Not as long as you would think.
How long?
Well, when we find whoever did that, whatever that was, ask them if they can reverse it, if they can allow transmission from a distance rather than simply cutting off the signal.
Captain, I'm going to have to protest.
Protest what?
We can't. First off, timeline pollution. This is stuff from the future. We can't. The Time Bureau, in and of itself, as Starfleet, will throw a hissy fit about this. Second, that means our chief engineering officer is compromised.
Not if we effect a sever.
This was a sever. That's
No.
what I did.
Junior grade Amathi, were you comfortable murdering our chief engineer?
No, of course not.
That is what you are suggesting. You are currently protesting our wish to avoid murder.
I am asking permission to do what may be a stopgap effort. Of course, if it fails, we may have to consider more drastic action. However,
we are not to the drastic part yet.
I would like to explain the idea.
We have effectively stopped the ship from being overrun, and I applaud that. But we are not going to simply kill my chief engineer because it would be easy.
These are
This is easy.
These are Borg. However evolved, they are Borg, which means that they have a hive mind, a collective memory. I am conversant in the ways of utilizing this collective memory. I am also conversant in avoiding certain distractions which accompany being connected to the collective. If we can modify whatever was done to allow a transmission, I could connect to the new collective without having to upgrade my own nanites. I would be able to access specifically medical data from the collective memory and effect a sever, disconnecting us both.
How much of that little plan did Kirk hear?
Pretty much from when she said essentially rejoining the collective.
We won't be doing that.
Did you have another idea?
Literally anything other than reconnecting a former Borg and a new Borg to the collective from a distance.
The commander, the chief engineering officer, would remain in the buffer, where her connection is safely severed. The only individual who would be taking the risk is myself. And currently, I don't see very many other options.
As I'm understanding the doctor, and this may not give you more ease simply because I understand your people would react strongly to the analogy I'm going to make. It appears the doctor is somewhat suggesting the Borg version of a mind meld.
In essentials, yes.
And that has been used medically in different ways in the past. I am open to seeing if we can use the convenience of having a former Borg on board who is a doctor and a lead in her field. She is trying to save our officer's life without endangering the ship, as well as trying to find a way to do this as cleanly as possible so that we can hide behind some precedents and not be technically contaminating the timeline.
Since the block was mechanically accomplished, it would mean that my connection to the new Borg would also be mechanically accomplished. Should something happen to make Lieutenant Sulak, yourself, uncomfortable, you could simply turn off the connection.
And if we lose 2 officers in the process, Doctor?
Why would you lose a second officer?
If you reconnect, if we are unable to disconnect you in time, if you are unable to disconnect Davin in time, and we lose 2 officers, what then?
I have survived the trauma of severing once. This would be a much shorter term.
And I would like to remind you, as you would also understand with the similarities in your physiology, she is not just any Borg. She is Vulcan, and her mind is capable of so much more than many other species. She has added benefits. It seems kismet that we have this problem and a solution here on board. I will worry about the prime directive issues. I'm more concerned with a life right now. A life of someone who can fix my ship. I wouldn't care if she's suddenly got face tattoos, that's fine. It worked for Chakotay.
Captain, you seem to be hitting all of the culturally inappropriate buttons this evening.
I think that happens when I put bourbon in my coffee.
Perhaps when this is done, we can have Simo offer some recommendations on a healthier command diet. I'll transmit the kill codes for the device to your pad and get to work.
Do you want to be present for this procedure of the doctor's? Or would you be better suited elsewhere? And that's just her knowing what she knows.
Given the sensitive nature of some of my work, I will need to remain at the device and perform calibrations in real time, lest we let the genie out of the bottle.
He just doesn't want to freak out.
Either way, if we are successful, I think everyone needs to be prepared for the new individual that we are going to be making a member of our crew, and hopefully we can build on whatever foundation still exists. So let's go ahead and assume we're going to succeed and prepare for that.
Aye, Captain.
And she's gonna kind of just be like, Doctor, Lieutenant Sulek, I would like to speak with Junior Grade Amathi alone, please. Please return to your duties.
Excellent, Captain. And with that, Kurt, out the door, back to what he was doing.
Does he go and get out of his uniform and leave his badge?
Oh yes, yes. He is meticulous.
Amathi's tail is still bottle brushed, and he looks disappointed, but he is very quiet. His face is kind of set, and his jaw is very tight as he's looking at the captain.
The captain's gonna let like a good amount of silence be shared between them before she's just going to finish what's in her coffee cup and put it down and put her hands in front of her. Permission to speak freely, Lieutenant Junior Grade Amathi.
You know Commander Davin's homeworld was destroyed by the Borg, right?
How is that relevant? You think she should die too because her planet died?
No. I'm just saying that Davin wouldn't want to be Borg.
You want me to take her out of the pattern buffer to ask for her consent to save her life?
What I'm saying... You're the captain. The decision's ultimately yours. But I'm just saying that the consequences of what could be happening here could be far-reaching and have ramifications that none of us can really honestly know what's going to happen.
Welcome to Starfleet.
I'm well aware of that, Captain. At least I thought I was. But that doesn't really matter. What I'm trying to say, Captain, is this. Commander Davin... I don't think Commander Davin would want this.
I'm telling you, we can remove her from the pattern buffer and ask her consent. It should ultimately be her choice, so that is probably going to be done regardless. But I'm more concerned with you speaking as you were, not only to me, but other superior officers. You can have those concerns, but you can voice them when it is appropriate and not challenge the authority of myself or anyone else above you. That does not help our chain of command, and that does not suit keeping order instead of chaos.
I apologize for that, Captain. I'm more used to review boards and professors and other things like that. We didn't have a chain of command, and you were expected to challenge your teachers and those that you are superiors, especially when you know they're wrong.
Right or wrong becomes very different the higher you get. If you are hoping to remain and eventually find yourself in a position of command yourself, you're going to have to realize that there is a gray area.
I think there's gray areas are strange like that, Captain. We keep saying that there are gray areas. You're not wrong. There are. There definitely are. And sometimes there's right decisions and sometimes there are wrong decisions. But Federation and Starfleet, you know, there's been a lot of gray areas lately and a lot of wrong decisions. just don't want. Commander Davin's my friend, and I don't want to see her die. I don't want anything bad to happen at her at all. I thought that this was going to be the best solution. None of this science makes sense. She shouldn't have been hurt while in the pattern buffer.
This is technology beyond ours. This is science that has been developed and understood beyond our understanding. That's the whole problem with dealing with problems that come from the future. I know that the science doesn't make sense. I saw what you were working on in the reports. I did not expect to have someone in a pattern buffer experience trauma from what we were doing. But it is. This is what we're at. I will make sure that we at least do what Commander Davin wants. Within reason. We're not going to outright shoot her in the head.
Of course.
Not even if she tells us to.
That makes sense.
But we are going to try and work in the realm of her consent while also avoiding terminating her life.
Mm.
And again, there is plenty of precedence of different situations when it comes to the bureaucratic side of things and the paperwork.
Mm.
She did not seek the future. She had nothing to do with us encountering future technology, and this was thrust upon her without her consent, as I understand it. So in no way do I expect the Federation to punish her for being a victim. I'm not really concerned about that.
I'm not worried about that either, Captain. I'm more worried about other things. Can't really put my finger on it, but I just know that, I mean, I've heard stories about, like, stuff that's happened during the Dominion War, things that kind of looked a little sketchy, a little dark. I've heard Commander Jax talk about it when he served. I'm just worried about us. I'm just worried about my friend. I want her to live. This is not what I was expecting.
You're going to have to learn to keep a lid on your emotions so that you can think clearly and not let those worries, concerns, and confusion in things that don't make sense make you incapable of maintaining good cooperation and the chain of command. I do want you to speak out. I want you to use your fantastic mind as much as possible to help us. But I don't want you to be blurting out your feelings and disagreeing openly with me in the middle of a meeting.
Fair enough, Captain. My apologies.
Now, if you would, please assist the doctor in any way you can. Dismissed.
And then Mafi will... tension almost immediately leaves his body. His tail returns back to normal. Like, the tension leaves his jaw, and his face goes back to a more relaxed state, and he basically will make his way out and go find the chief medical officer.
Kids.
Nice. So, the meeting is adjourned. Captain heads back onto the bridge, and there sits Commander Jax flipping through various reports and things of that nature.
Welcome back, Captain.
In any of your lives, have you had extensive interactions with the Borg? Ever been potentially
This one.
very helpful? All right, thank you.
No, I fought the Borg.
No, have you, like, not in a battle sense? Have you been?
No one. There are very few people who can claim to have had extensive peaceful relations with the Borg. The crew of the Voyager, and that's about it. Almost no one comes away from them with a good interaction. I mean, I've read all the reports. I know you read some of them too because we worked on the same project.
Oh yes, but most of my experience was with the transition and XBs.
I know.
My work was not with active connected ships that were trying to assimilate me. So I don't know the other side of that diplomacy, which I'm hearing is the no side. There is no side to that diplomacy.
Yeah, they always operate from a place of threat. They have the power to destroy us anytime they come across us. And the only time that they've ever treated with us in any way to be considered maybe diplomacy is the one time they ran across a race that scared them. We don't have that here. This future Borg, they seemed friendly, but they're clearly doing the same thing. It's just they put a prettier face on it. They don't give you a choice. They just do it.
Thank you for your input. You are welcome to return to your preferred chair. You sure you're not comfortable there?
Captain, I appreciate the trust involved in letting me sit in the chair. And honestly, given what we were dealing with, I'm kind of glad I was able to be there to help.
I'm just glad you didn't shoot first and ask questions later.
That's definitely not my style.
She's gonna take the seat and then chirp to the doctor.
Yes, Captain.
When you feel it is time, I would like you to remove Davin from stasis in the pattern buffer and explain what we're going to try and do before we proceed. And I want to know her thoughts and if she refuses.
Yes, Captain, I will seek her consent. Quick question. Oh, beautiful storyteller. Do I have to take Davin out of the buffer? Can I just use my cool roboticness to interact with her in the buffer?
If she has no consciousness of time, time doesn't pass. Can you have a conversation inside a pattern buffer?
Yeah, I'm gonna say she's broken down into too many molecules for that.
I'm falling to pieces here. You got to put me back together.
Hate it when that happens.
Mike TV style.
So, can we set up a force field or some way to keep her in the buffer if I put her back together?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Force field run the medical transporter. I like it.
Yeah, let's do that.
The doctor sounds nervous.
Incoming transport.
And then we'll put her back together once everything is like no escape.
We're going to take this big giant candy bar and we're going to send it through the air and then it's going to be a tiny candy bar.
Yes, exactly that.
Go get Willy Wonka up in this shit.
You do so and re-energize, I guess. That's the word, maybe. Commander Davin, you are behind a force field in medical. The doctor's standing there with her tricorder and all her gadgets that she's going to need for this. And Doctor, you notice that Davin's looking much better. Like all of her wrinkles are gone, the bags under her eyes are gone. But what is very clearly noticeable is the patterning on her skin, and her irises have turned a vibrant teal color.
So, for the sake of time, we're just going to assume I word vomited all that has happened in the last like half an hour,
Yep.
and explained what I intend to do. Explained that it is not without trauma, having been through something similar myself. Explained that the options as we currently see them are death or severance, death or cake. And then ask what she wishes to do.
Devin kind of stands there a moment, just kind of cocks her head a little bit. The gesture is probably familiar to K4 at that moment. There seems to be a percolation behind her eyes, so to speak. So when were you going to tell me that that was my brother?
While I could guess that there was some part of this that was familial to you, I was unaware that it was your sibling.
I suppose it's something to know that he's alive in some capacity. And you're willing to do all that just to save me. Knowing that these other Borg are my family, and they might not be coming for me now, but my continued existence means that eventually they might. Is that a risk that everyone is willing to take?
It is a risk that the captain seems willing to accept at this time.
Well, then let's try your method, because I'm probably the only one that can stop them from doing anything.
Very well. I am going to reactivate the buffer.
As you will, Doctor.
I hope to see you on the other side.
C'est la vie.
And then we do the buffer again. Buffer, buffer, buffer! Ooh.
So many Borg busters. Right. So, Commander Davin, you are back in the buffer. What is the plan going forward now?
Well, we're gonna chirp the captain and the lieutenant and inform the captain that we do have the closest thing to informed consent we're going to be able to get at this juncture, and that Commander Davin is willing to make the attempt at severance, and then is going to call down to Lieutenant Sulak and basically be like, "Yeah, it's all you, broski. Anytime."
Strangely enough, when Sulak responds, it almost sounds like he's talking to you from his pad, not his badge. All right. Well, here goes nothing. And he'll begin his his magnum opus.
All right, you fire everything back up again.
Backwards this time.
Backwards. Ooh, that's a nat 20 into 3. So everything, as far as you can tell, the favorite DM words, is working as planned. Step 1 activated. What is step 2?
Step 2 is to connect to whatever systems were on the ship that was connected to his super secret spy device.
I'm gonna go ahead and say up on the bridge we've got like an ops monitor with what's going on in med bay with everything. We're just it's like
And then to essentially like start doing the upload process, I guess, to try to upload to the new Borg collective consciousness. Let's hope it's backwards compatible.
All right, so everybody's munching their popcorn. The tension is mounting. Commander Davin, you are your atoms, all dispersed. You know you exist, but time, space, relativity all doesn't mean a whole lot to you. When another consciousness kind of bumps into you a little bit, and then another one, and another, and you start to feel a reconnection forming. It's very weak at first, but the longer that it goes, you start to see those daydream images of the Sheev walking about the sphere and the other cubes, and for a brief moment, I mean, we're talking like a millisecond, you perceive a familiar sight. Running across the corridor in a blur of red and orange skin, you briefly think you see Zek on one of the cubes.
She thinks to herself, I need to get out of this buffer and tell them.
So the reconnection works perfectly. What is step 3?
Step 3 is accessing collective memory, specifically collective medical memory, which is the same as she would have had access to in her original collective.
Connecting to the new collective yourself, you feel what Borg nanites remain. They begin to reach out and kind of like get supercharged. Like you almost feel revitalized, like in a way that you haven't felt in a very long time. And that warm collective hug wraps itself around you. That familiar, just being part of this larger community. And you begin to get access to everything that Commander Davin has access to, the medical of the Sheev, their engineering, their technology, and you also begin seeing on the different vessels and basically peering into the future. And you
I'm
also
going to ignore the heck out of all of that. I'm looking specifically for danger of severance, which should be right up front. Like the things to avoid becoming severed.
So here's the super fun part. I'm going to need you to roll a control and security check.
Okay. Where's
And
my
we're
sheet?
looking for
Where's my sheet?
two successes.
Given that Davin's connected to the same network that she is, can Davin help her? Been connected longer.
Yeah. I'll say that you can. In
Yeah,
fact,
you feel
once
Davin's brain
once the
bump
doctor
against-
does connect, yeah, like the two of you are like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?"
I know you.
I know
You
that
also
guy.
can spend momentum.
I know
to give
that
yourself
guy!
Extra dice too, as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend a. I'm sorry, my brain lost the word. It's an M.
Momentum.
Thank you. It is an M word. So I have 6 and a 1, and I get a 16,
6
which is
and a
not a pass.
1.
But I got a 6 and a 1.
That is what you need right there. You are able to shrug off the siren's call of the collective.
I held him back for you, Doc. Also, Zach is on one of these ships. He's no longer on the Kvasir. I saw him, or he's going to be one of the two. You should tell the rest, because I'm still impressed that I can talk through the buffer.
A shame.
It comes with the collective. So she would get a whole bunch of K4's memories, which I will
Yeah,
go
we'll-
into not right now in the interest of time.
And we can talk later, because that'll be fun.
So
Yes,
if
the memory
she
exchange.
if she got what she needed, which is how to sever them, she is going to like.
You did, in fact, get the info.
Cool.
Oh, so we're memory sharing? Oh, you're gonna learn some things about Lieutenant Sulak.
Yeah.
Learn some things.
It's going to be really embarrassing for him, I'm sure.
She's the doctor. It's confidentiality, you know.
It's nothing new. It's fine. Anyway,
The best
So-
part is that she's not only Borg, she's also Vulcan. So she totally knows how to never, ever let anyone know she knows anything at all about it.
so since she is connected also into the ship to maintain this connection with the thingy, it's going to go full ship again. Turn it off. And the doc is back. And
All right.
she's gonna do whatever it is she has to do. We're gonna undo the buffer. We're going to
Okay.
do whatever has to be done to issue the severance.
Okay.
Hopefully without destroying Davin.
Yes, everything works as planned. Commander Davin, you are severed from the sheave. It is worth noting, though, that even though you are separated and the nanites are no longer broadcasting, they do still exist in your person. So you do still retain that look.
And then she's going to disconnect the force field so that Davin is free to go wherever. She is going to report success to the captain and to Lieutenant Sulak. And then she is going to turn on heel and just like seclude under a bed or something.
Okay.
Davin won't leave, actually.
Somewhere small and dark and
She'll basically calm the captain and go, Dr. K. Ford does not seem to be doing well. I'm going to stay with here out of an abundance of caution.
That is wise. Take your time. I am familiar with what she is probably going through. She's been through it before.
Yeah.
Did she also tell me about the Zek thing? Was that included in the stuff?
K4 did not make that report, no. Just
Cool.
success. Davin is fine.
Also, Captain, is Zek on the ship? Because I think he might have snuck onto one of the Borg ships.
That's a really stupid thing for a person to do. And she's just to be like, computer, locate Commander Zek.
Commander Zek is not aboard the Kvasir.
Computer, what is Commander Zek's last known location?
Commander Zek's last known location was in his quarters.
Computer, has there been any unauthorized transports since encountering the Borg?
Sulak. There have been no unauthorized transports.
That's right, because they were all authorized.
Oh,
Gabe,
God.
hearing her, ask the computer all this. He'll go over, Captain, if I may, computer, scan for any Ferengi life signs on the ship.
There are no Ferengi life signs aboard the Kvasir.
Thing I don't know. Did y'all blow up the piece that stayed on this side of the rift after we closed it? Cool.
Very cool, very cool.
But according to what I saw, he was running around one of the Borg ships. I don't know which one. I was connected to a lot.
If I'm understanding everything, you're telling me you believe he's running around a Borg ship somewhere in the future.
That is where I believe they are, sir. I don't think they exist in this continuity. And well, the only way to bring them into ours would involve reconnection.
You know, I don't. I believe if they wanted to give him back, they will. So we'll just see.
See how long I can stand him?
He will show back up eventually.
Well, yes, whether to get rid of him or to come for me, one of the two.
You know what? I think we got the better deal. They can keep him.
Well, I guess Commander Jax will just have to fill in for him.
Oh, that's right. I wouldn't be without an XO, though it's kind of like being without one. Anyways, we will address that perhaps tomorrow. And she's gonna like side eye Commander Caitlin. But how are you feeling?
Is it weird to say I've never felt this good? I, for some reason, don't feel like a Raktajino. It's weird.
That is pretty weird. But you're not feeling an urge to purge us of our flaws, make us perfect. You don't want to stick tubes in my computer and destroy my ship. None of that right now.
Well, Captain, there's I don't think all of us could be perfect on this ship. There's probably only room for one of that here, so no worries about that. And as far as doing anything to the ship, why the hell did I do that?
Right? It's your ship. You love ship. Ship love you.
I'm
More
certainly going to feel my
bourbon.
deep and abiding affection for this ship. Perhaps even get a little bit closer, since I'm now apparently part bio machine. The
She's
doctor
gonna
was a
she's
crap.
gonna like pet the captain's chair she's sitting in while they're having this talk, and like, she is a good puppy.
She is. I think perhaps you might wish to retire for the evening, Captain. You sound a little distressed.
It's been a lot to absorb, and I
Sure it does.
honestly don't know whether I should mention Zex in the future in my report to Starfleet. That is a very strange addition to an already strange day, even by Starfleet standards.
I would just report him as missing in action, since who
Brilliant.
knows, my I could be wrong. There was a lot of strangeness. I was conscious in the buffer, Captain. That was very interesting.
Oh, well, I'm glad we didn't leave you in there very long.
I mean, I couldn't sense a passage of time, so
Will you take as much time as you need? Please, if you will, make sure others know to give the doctor space if they aren't already aware.
I'll
And
put out something in the officers' chat.
excellent.
Lieutenant Sulak, after all of this has been completed and everything is returning to normal, you are heading on through, the storage areas and things like that, and you immediately notice that there is one large crate that is missing. A particular crate that belonged to one each Commander Zek.
Oh no.
That was supposed to be secured behind a level 10 containment field.
It was.
There are only 3 people that should have had access to that level 10 containment field.
The EXO was not
There
one of those
are.
3 people?
I'm gonna find him. I'm gonna find him and I'm gonna kill him.
And that is where we are going to end tonight's episode. Thank you all very, very much for joining us. This has been a wild ride from start to finish. We appreciate you so much. Thank you to these players. So much drama, so much action. I loved every minute of it. Tune in next time, not next Friday, but the Friday after that for the continuation and the crew actually starting their 5-year mission. Wow. See y'all later. Bye.